President Biden visited the border and declared, "This is fine." We talked to an Arizona sheriff to see what the real story is.
PragerU's CJ Pearson is here, and we're going to get to the bottom of whether PragerU is a real university.
A new statue honoring Martin Luther King has been unveiled in Boston, and well, we have some questions.
Velma came out, and it sucks.
What is best in life? Sizzler. Sizzler is best in life.
All this and more on
The Babylon Bee Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Babylon Bee Podcast. I'm Kyle Mann, hanging out here with Adam Yinzer. And today we've got a special guest from PragerU, CJ Pearson. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
This will be a blast.
I'm excited.
So what are you doing at PragerU right now?
You know, I transferred from the University of Alabama to PragerU. Doesn't have a football team, but
program,
we're working on it.
right.
We're practicing, running some drills in the courtyard, but it's been great. So I've been working on some new projects there, working on a new show, which we're super excited to unveil soon, but it's been great.
It's not even accredited. It's a real party school.
Yeah.
You know? It's like,
Yeah. It's like Trump University, but like prestigious. Right?
It's slightly more real than Trump University.
Yeah.
but not
Like
all
the
the way real.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
Like
the
the
pantheon.
Yale, like Yale vibes.
It's like Hogwarts, Trump University.
Yeah, but it's been great.
We're on a show there.
So we're working on a show. It's called Left versus Right, and really the big thing there is that we want to show young people my age, Generation Z, the differences between the left and the right. I think that you see in the media this incredibly romanticized view of what the left is, when that actually just isn't really true. And so super excited to get that out soon, and it's going to be great.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was going to, looking at you, I can't really tell.
Yeah.
I was saying anywhere between 15 and 30. So there's a wide range.
That's
20.
good.
I believe 20. I believe 20.
Fair enough.
Do you guys ever encounter people in your comment section that do think PragerU is some sort of real university?
I think it's probably because the quality of education you receive at PragerU is probably better than a lot of universities today. At PragerU, thankfully, unlike Stanford University, you can still say the word American and grandfather without being considered a racist, which, I feel like a few years ago, no one would have ever even imagined would be a source of contention.
What were the other ones? Brave? You can't say brave anymore?
Yeah, because
You can't say field somewhere.
I saw that one this
that
week.
one was just
right?
this
Is that
week.
USC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, field.
Like what is it called?
Like,
The
do they know-
football green space? I don't know.
What do you think the origin of the field was? I don't know. It's just.
They think fields were only invented for slavery. That
Right,
there was
this is-
never
there's no
any
fields
other type of field.
I got this
ever.
great idea.
Where did
We're
you
gonna
grow
create this.
crops?
Yeah.
Like parcels of land?
I don't understand.
They don't understand. They don't understand.
Well, anytime we have someone who's from Gen Z here, we just have to ask you, what is wrong with your generation? And did you come out okay? What is your experience growing up in Gen Z? Like TikTok? You kind of grown up with TikTok, because that's been around 5 or 6 years now.
Yeah. So if you ask me if I came out okay, I think the answer is yes. If you ask my
think so.
parents that question, they would disagree, considering they come from a family of Democrats, a family of leftists.
You rebelled the other direction.
Yeah. And I'm the only child. So they literally had only one job, and I somehow found a way to mess it up. And so, but it's been interesting. I think that, Gen Z, I think, has gotten a lot worse of a rap than I think than we deserve at times. I think, there are lots of people among us who are really sensitive, really cringy, and all of those things. But I also think, though, that there are some of these issues that you've seen from the left that have kind of radicalized a lot of people in my generation. A lot of people in generation hate cancel culture. This entire idea that you can be criminalized or penalized or suffer consequences for so-called wrongthink and for believing things that just a year ago would have been normal to believe. At the University of Alabama, ironically enough, we had for the first time, I think you guys covered this, a biological male was rushing to join one of our sororities. And I know girls who are apolitical, didn't really like Trump or any of that, who were like, this is weird. This is a sorority. What are we going to do? Are we going to, get ready with him to go out and all those things? It was something that they genuinely felt uncomfortable by. And I think that the left's increasing, radicalization is going to push a lot more people in our generation away from them, which I think is long overdue and will be the thing that wakes them up. As far as TikTok, I think we all have that addiction. I know that like I wake up in the morning and for a good hour or two, I'm just scrolling. Don't know if that's done anything good necessary for my IQ, but it's fun. It's fun.
You seem to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd be worried about the TikTok stuff. But
probably it's China's plot. It's China's plot.
It just makes us question your taste, not your IQ.
yeah,
TikTok. There's some funny videos there, man.
Oh my
There's some
gosh!
funny
But I
videos.
think TikTok. I'm like a conspiracy theorist on TikTok. I think not only is China using it to take personal information, I think it's also a psyop where they're dumbing us down and making us
shorter attention
trying
spans.
to misplace our values and teaching us to
push some
be
things.
lazy at work and I feel like they want to use it to sow division with like the issues like the transgender stuff and the woke teachers on TikTok. I feel like they promote that stuff with the algorithm just to create division.
And you're talking about the work ethic thing. Like they'll promote those videos where people are
like
complaining
the quiet
about
quitting and stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like that's all. It's like a low-key psyop to just dumb down the American workforce and make
there's
us
like
lazy.
there's videos that have massive reach on there where people are talking about how you should never have kids. Like my life is way great without kids, and I'm like. They're pushing this so that you don't have kids.
Yes,
like it's artificially
there's evidence of
inflated.
that too. Like you look at what they're promoting in China. Like they're promoting educational
I've heard
content
that.
to their children, but here in America you see a bunch of like e-girls twerking and OnlyFans models, and it's like, why are we getting that, right? Like why are we getting that?
I'm okay with that.
So it's like I think there's definitely like I've never really thought about it that way, but I think there is like they definitely do favor in the algorithm things that any objective person I think would look at it and be like, this is just not good for society. I've seen tons of quiet quitting content. I've seen tons of things about like, like when you're in your quarterly review and you're telling your boss, like you're so excited to work there, but you've already planning on quitting or whatever. And it's just like, and I feel genuinely bad because it's like, I have friends who aren't yet in the workforce and all of those things. And they'll text me and they're like, hey, like, and this is literally a text I got 2 days ago from my friend. She's like, I just got this new job, but like, my friend is having a birthday in Tampa. Like, what do I say? And I'm just like, and she said, well, like, at the end of the day, like, Tampa will not always be there, but this job will always be. And I got to live my best life. It's hot girl summer. And I'm like, well, first and foremost, it's winter. And number two,
you're not hot.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. She is. But it's just like one of those things. It's just like, come on. Like, this is just not how you're going to survive in a workplace. But that's insane.
All right, well, everyone check out PragerU and keep an eye out for CJ's new show. You can also check him out on Instagram and Twitter, and we will have links to all of his content because he's a content creator. We got news of the week this week. We have a news segment called CONSOOM, where we talk about the media we're consuming, and we're talking to Sheriff Mark Lamb about Biden's handling of the border crisis. Sizzler facts, mailbag, the Babylon Bee's Bible verse of the week, and hate mail. So here we go. But first, we want to remind you guys all to go to Babylon Bee Live this February 24th in Fort Worth, Texas. Please go to babylonbeelive.com and get your tickets. I believe VIP is all sold out. They were going to try to release some more tickets. I'm not sure if they will be available when this pops up or not. But please join us. We're selling out quickly, and we would love to see you there.
Americans are discovering that if we want to change the nation, we have to change the way the marketplace works. And that change starts with you, with your local communities, and with your wallet. Be deliberate with your dollars and reject woke corporations. Imagine a world in which every single dollar you spend would go towards companies that share your values for life, liberty, and patriotism. Now with the Public Square app, you can. Public SQ, or Public Square, is an app and website that connects freedom-loving Americans to the community and companies that share their values. Engage in a nationwide platform with the largest directory of patriotic businesses and consumers, all while accessing exclusive savings at businesses that see the world the way you do. The marketplace is free to join for consumers and business owners alike. To get started and shop your values, download the Public Square app from the App Store or Google Play, or click on the link in the video description.
What's in the news this week?
So Boston put up this statue. Well, I should say it the way it says here. Boston decided to erect a statue in honor of MLK. A lot of people have been criticizing this sculpture. It doesn't look good. It's supposed to be copied from an embrace between Dr. King and his wife, but they decided to make it without bodies or heads. It's just the disembodied arms wrapped around one another. And it just looks like a weird, creepy
Seems like a bit that would be in a
Dali
sitcom or
painting.
something.
Yeah.
Like just,
Martin Luther King did just not die for this. Like, this is just
not
not,
what he died for, huh?
like, wow.
Yeah, so it's like from a famous picture where he found out he was winning the Nobel Peace Prize and he was hugging Coretta, and they just cut it out.
It's nice that it has brought people together where people, like, regardless of creed or skin color, all think it looks like
Everybody
a penis.
hates it. Especially in this angle.
Yeah, that's the angle that
Put it
went
up on the
viral.
screen, and you guys can decide what you think it looks like.
And for the record, this costs $10 million to
Yeah.
create. Like, this is modern art today.
And I read a statement from the artist where he said the purpose of it was to de-emphasize the individual and promote the collective. He's like, it doesn't matter that it was MLK, it's just the embrace of everybody. We want to embrace the all and push down the individual.
You know, I bet it will become a popular thing to see, though, because whether you're going because you like it or hate it, if I was in Boston, I would want to go see it.
I gotta go see it.
And you know, maybe you appreciate when you're there.
Maybe it looks better when you're there.
It's a meme now. You have to go see it.
Yeah. And it's like when they made that the monkey Jesus in Spain, you know, when that lady tried to fix the painting. Like, I want to see that
Massive
someday.
tourism.
Yes.
I went to go see that. I love botched restorations.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
It's so funny. And they actually interviewed this artist. I think it was on CNN, and even the CNN hosts were asking him, well, are you going to change it or redo it? And he's like, no.
That's funny.
Well, if art is supposed to make you feel something, then I guess it was a success.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Universe is now owned by a trans woman. So this person didn't win the Miss Universe?
No,
They-
this is the owner of
owner
this
of it.
universe.
Biological male.
Made the statement, from now on, it's going to be ran by women. And it's a biological male. So
Is this
a
the
man,
person?
a man saying that. Yes, that's
That's the man.
That's
That is a man.
him. Yes,
Okay.
that's him.
Just to be clear, that's a man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
And then there was also accusations already that this new owner rigged the winner to be from the United States.
Yeah. The Miss USA was
Yeah.
it was rigged in her favor. Which, you know, I feel like at the end of the day, you know, we're arguing about it being rigged in favor of Miss USA. It's going to be rigged in favor of men in probably like a year or so. So it's like,
yeah.
you know.
I feel like having transgender competitors like that, though, it's a good way to keep Trump out of the dressing room before beauty pageants. You know, he'll be like, no, I don't want to go there anymore.
Wait a minute. Are they all? No, they're
No,
not.
they're all.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I can't
Not
risk it.
interested.
I can't risk it. I'm gonna see some MLK statue stuff in there.
I want to see the MLK statue in the dressing room. That's for sure.
And the World Economic Forum was this week. Top executives and leaders of state fly in their private jets to Davos, a Swiss ski resort, for a 5-day summit on climate change. And multiple media outlets are reporting that they are boosting the local economy of prostitution.
I did not know where that headline was going.
It's a real roller coaster.
Business booming for sex workers in Davos as prostitution rises during the World Economic Forum. All right.
Well, they're contributing to the economy.
That's something that they're doing.
I mean, what they always get criticized for is that they talk about all this environmental,
Yeah.
issues,
They fly in
and then
their
they fly in
private
there in their
jets.
private
1,000,
jets
jets.
to a rich ski resort. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the frozen ski resort when we're supposed to be worried about warming, and it's always
13 degrees, according to something I saw today in Switzerland.
It says as many as 100 high-end, in quote, prostitutes, because they have good taste in prostitutes, these rich people, have flocked to the summit. This is nothing new. In 2020, the Times called the summit a den of prostitution and predators.
Oh, okay.
So Biden's competence question as classified documents scandal continues. I don't know if that's the first time it's been questioned, but they're calling it incredibly careless. Last week, we talked about the documents that were found on his private office at University of Pennsylvania. And then they found documents in his garage next to that incredible Corvette. And then a third batch of documents were found in his home. You know, I think a lot of people are wondering, and what's interesting about this story that I saw is that Hunter Biden was literally paying $50,000 in rent at the same piece of property. Like,
Yeah, and he wasn't.
really?
Doesn't he own the property? Like, isn't his name on the deed? Is something I heard that he
Yeah.
actually owns the property, but he was still paying rent
yeah, like $50,000 for a
in
house
rent
in Delaware.
to his dad, right?
It
Yeah.
might be a way to funnel money to the big guy.
Yeah,
Right.
to the big guy.
Absolute insanity. And it's like, and also too about this story, what's interesting is that I love how it's just like, you know, just volunteer. They're able to just volunteer these documents. But yeah, when it was Trump, it was like, let's send the entire brigade of FBI agents, the DOJ, and they, you know, carried out that search in that way. But when it's Biden, it's like, oh, it's just in his garage. It's just chilling. No need to send
Yeah.
anyone out there. Like, it's,
I also think a lot of people would it's bad that they're not handling the classified documents properly.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people would be less concerned about it unless it's exposed that there's something really sensitive in there that could threaten national security. I don't think anybody would care about this story as much, except that the left just made such a big deal about Trump's documents.
It's a double standard,
act like it was the worst thing in the world. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this story cracked me up because every morning I woke up and you pull out the phone and it's like, oh, more documents.
Yes. Yeah.
They just kept fighting them at more and more places, which is just
And they can't say that it's not a big deal because, as you said, they spent
They've
much
already
time
made it.
making it a big deal,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh my, and it seems as if it's just like this just seems to be a huge problem on the left when it comes to classified documents, like Hillary Clinton, Biden, like a Barack seems to be the only person who just seemed to know how to like keep some documents somewhere. Like to his credit,
He's the only loser president who didn't have
He
the
may
guts.
not have
Who
been
didn't
good
have the
at much,
guts. Who
but-
didn't have the guts to steal secret
Right.
documents.
it seems like he's got his head on his shoulders though. Like I feel like Obama would know how to handle documents.
seemingly.
So far.
Seemingly.
Yeah.
That's so far
Or just
seen
hide
that.
them real good.
I could be eating my words by the
just-
next
yeah.
podcast, but
At the rate that this is going, yeah, maybe.
Now, if W. Bush stole any secret documents, those would be interesting.
yeah,
He's probably got some interesting stuff in there.
please burn those.
All the
long ago.
UFO stuff, I feel like he definitely took with him.
Biden spoke at MLK's church and repeated a questionable claim, as he often does, that he would go to mass early in the morning before going to the black church during the civil rights era. So I guess he claimed that he went to black church during the civil rights era.
Let's lay one thing
But
to
he
rest.
did say not a joke, so that means it
Not a
must
joke.
be true.
Every time.
No,
he
you
says
can
not
do
a
the.
joke.
I'll let you do the.
Let's lay one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic, but I used to go to 7:30 mass every morning in high school, and then in college before I went to the black church. Biden said, "Not a joke." Andy knows this.
Can we please talk to Andy?
Yeah.
Where is Andy? But I will say, a part of me is inclined to believe him because he did say that he went to mass before he went to the black church. And anyone who has ever been to black church knows that if you have any plans after black church, you're not going to them. Like it's a 3-hour long
shit.
endeavor. Praise and worship is like an hour and 30 minutes. The sermon's 2 hours. And then they're always saying, oh, I'm wrapping it up. They're never wrapping it up, which is why when I went to Alabama, there just weren't that many black churches. I got to go to church with my white friends, and it was incredible. You're in and out 30 minutes. Got the express service, same word. But it's
Don't
just
mess
like
around.
right, yeah. It's brisk.
Eat some
It's
wine and
great.
bread and get out of there.
Get some lunch after. By the time you get out of black church, it's 7 p.m. The sun's down. What's going on?
And then it says longtime congregants told the Washington Free Beacon at the time that they didn't recall Biden attending the church. The revelation came about the same time Biden was forced to admit his repeated claims about being arrested with young in apartheid era South Africa were also untrue. Like the black church just doesn't remember one white guy.
I think we'd remember that. I think you'd be able to tell. But do we have his the words he stumbled over? That
did
clip?
we have his happy birthday speech? Is that in here? Or his happy birthday song?
Let's pull it up. I will stop.
Did you see his happy birthday
No,
song?
I didn't see
Oh, you have to see this.
I need to.
Can the
Are they going to look at... Yeah, so Biden was
Possum or
delivering
whoever's
an
on
MLK address at an event, and some of MLK's family members were there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I think it was his daughter-in-law or his granddaughter-in-law, married to his grandson. It was her birthday, and her name is
Biden, happy birthday,
Andrea King.
Mm-hmm.
And Biden starts singing happy birthday to her and forgets her name and just mumbles through it. It's hilarious.
Well, look, my wife has a rule in her family. When somebody's birthday, you sing happy birthday. You ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Valen. Happy birthay to you.
No way.
Well,
And her name is
Tell
Andrea. He
Turner
was not
30,
even
but she
close.
Oh my!
He had no idea.
Delvin. Oh my gosh.
What a guy! What a guy!
Well, San Francisco is planning on giving $5 million to each black resident. An advisory committee to the city of San Francisco has recommended that the city pay reparations to its black population. The city would pay a minimum of $5 million to each qualifying black resident of the city over age 18 and commit to a 250-year program of guaranteeing $100,000 in income to low-income black residents. The ones who are still low income after they become millionaires anyway. So would you like to move to San Francisco? Is this
I've already submitted my rental application in an
Nice.
apartment. I'm packed and ready to go. I hope PragerU opens an office there. But I think you guys should move too, because I think if people can be transgender, why can't you be transracial?
You can do the Rachel Dolezal thing.
do
No,
Yeah.
exactly that. Exactly. I think that's what we're going to see. You know, even though that California has never owned any slaves.
Yeah,
or-
Jimmy Kimmel.
Right. Yeah. Just everyone, just come. We're
Ted
all
Danson.
transracial.
Ted Danson did it.
It's about to be the blackest city in America.
Sarah Silverman.
Jimmy
plan?
Fallon.
Yeah.
They all are owed
Fallon
$1 million.
and Kimmel do it, or did I get that wrong?
No, Kimmel did it as what's his name from the Utah Jazz,
Yeah,
Karl
it was-
Malone.
right.
And then Jimmy Fallon did it as Chris Rock on SNL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then Ted Danson did it when he was dating Whoopi Goldberg because he thought that made it.
No way.
Well, this is one of my favorite stories of the week. The new Velma show by Mindy Kaling on HBO is a dumpster fire with 6% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So in this show that's pitched as a reboot origin story of the Velma character. Now, you know Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, the original.
The OG
I've not
Scooby-Doo.
seen
Okay,
this one.
all
I've
right.
seen the previous.
So Velma is gay, which I think they did have her be gay in some adaptations.
She always seemed like a
later
lesbian.
on.
And then in the
Everyone's like, okay, that's
And then
fine.
in the last Scooby-Doo movie, they made her officially
officially.
a lesbian.
Okay,
really?
And they are. Joke here was something along the lines of like, you know, conservatives this once don't really care. They're like,
They're
yeah,
like,
she's,
that's
it makes
right.
sense. She's a lesbian.
We're usually
That
opposed to
tracks.
this.
That
But yeah, Velma's gay.
This one works.
So Velma is gay and Indian. Daphne is dealing drugs at her school. And the names of the drugs are things like Mystery Machine and other Scooby-Doo references. Fred is the white guy who is the punchline of all the jokes. And Shaggy is a black stoner. And Scooby does not exist in the show. So it's meant to be the origin story of Velma Dinkley, the unsung and underappreciated brains of the Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. gang that unmasks her complex and colorful past. My favorite thing about this whole release and what a dumpster fire was is that a lot of leftists on Twitter were propagating a conspiracy theory that it was actually created by right-wingers to parody Velma as what the right wing thinks the woke really are like, to make leftists look bad. Here was one tweet that was going around with 16,000 likes. The showrunner of Velma is both a transphobe and said that you couldn't make The Office today because of cancel culture. She's a fellow reactionary. She deliberately made Velma suck, so the culture war YouTubers make 1 million videos about it to boost its SEO.
Now, why do they think Mindy Kaling is a transphobe?
I think
Has she made comments about that
No, but I
before?
think she did retweet J.K. Rowling like once.
Yeah.
And was it one of the transgender
like,
comments?
yeah.
Oh, good
So
for
this-
her then. Good for Mindy Kaling.
Yeah. So I know Mindy Kaling as a flaming liberal, but it's
that's
like
what
you can
surprised
stand
me
it,
because
like-
she's on the left. But I mean, there are a lot of feminists and people on the left who don't accept the transgender
Right.
nonsense.
And if you're in the comedy space, sometimes you kind of are a little reactionary. Like, I want people to tell
Yeah.
the jokes I want to tell and all that.
I haven't actually watched this. Have either of you guys watched?
haven't
the
watched
new
it.
Velma?
Clips, but that's it.
I was enjoying the clips that were going around
Yeah.
and how bad they were, yeah. So here's a couple of snippets from the show. A line from Velma. Fred's a rich white guy with a tiny dong. Those are all white people, Daphne. Cough. White girl with too much money. White girl with too much money. And then there's a
Screen grab of Fred giving the
Hitler
the
salute.
Nazi salute.
At one point during the release, it was the lowest rated TV show on all time on IMDb with 1.3 stars out of 10. I don't understand the reboot thing. Like, if you're going to make your own show, I don't know. Why do you have to take this character and
It's gonna have like a Scooby-Doo ending where they're like, "Let's see who you really are," and they pull off Mindy Kaling's mask and it's Nick Fuentes or something.
Andrew Tate? Yeah. It was you all along. I always revel a little bit in the delicious bad leftist.
It's always
art.
funny to watch the left implode.
Yeah.
and watch them just fight internally each other.
Yeah.
Like,
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. When you're at your best, you can do great things. But sometimes life gets you bogged down and you may feel overwhelmed or like you're not showing up in the way that you want to. So sometimes that happens to me. Sometimes I really don't know what to do. I show up, I'm tired. I'm thinking about things that I shouldn't be thinking about and I get bogged down. I find though BetterHelp helps me. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills, how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who experience major trauma either. It's for everybody. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can help get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/BabylonB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/BabylonB.
Banger of the week.
We have our banger. DOJ indicts Trump for Biden's possession of classified documents.
Probably a prophecy
that
that
one.
will be fulfilled
Yeah.
at some point here. But some of our stuff bombed just as hard as Velma.
Bomb of the week.
Theologians confirm scripture 72% more powerful when read in cool foreign accent.
That one did okay on Facebook, at least. I thought it got.
Did it? Okay.
I thought I saw it on there, yeah. I feel like that's true of a lot of audiobooks and YouTube clips.
No, it's
Whenever
ending
there's
in British
whether
or-
it's
Have you
Brit-
guys heard Prince Harry's audiobook?
No.
No, and I
it's-
didn't
it's-
plan on it.
Oh,
but-
it's absolutely awful.
I might not. Is
Yeah.
it fun? Is it fun bad?
It's I don't know. It's really you got to listen to it. Like he goes and he's talking about there's some British word for like a penis that I had no idea existed.
Oh, yeah.
Until
I heard
he was
something
talking about he applied Elizabeth Arden cream to his nika or something like that, which sounded like a racial slur. And I was like, but like no, it's the most bizarre thing in the world.
Oh my
and he's just
gosh.
talking about like it's rough. You need to listen to it.
That's like the Velma show. I kind of want to watch it just to see how bad it
Yeah,
is.
I hate watching
but then
it.
I don't know if it's too bad to get through.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe one
rough.
episode.
It's
Yeah.
rough. And the word was Nodger. by the way.
Nodger.
Nodger.
Oh,
That
okay.
sounds like a word that they would use.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, my Nodger.
That's
Got my Nodger.
that's the official royal name for a penis.
This
Now,
entire-
Harry, we only say Nodger in this house.
Yeah.
That MLK statue looks like a Nodger.
Big Nodger.
Hey, that's a
Big
Nodger.
Well, and now it is time for our most popular segment of all time, Sizzler Facts. 17 weeks ago, we debuted a new feature to the podcast called Sizzler Facts. Here's this week's. Chicken wings are becoming less common as a feature of Sizzler's famous salad bar, crushing the hopes of men and women alike. However, the Sizzler in Cedar City, Utah, still has chicken wings. So get yourself over to the Sizzler in Cedar City, Utah, and tell your friends. This has been Sizzler Facts.
Now it's time for the second most popular segment on our podcast, Sizzler Comments.
Sizzler comments.
Here's a comment from Tracy Friesen, and she says, just want to share an odd Sizzler fact with you. According to the American Scandal podcast, 2 David Koresh followers had their wedding reception at a Sizzler with Koresh in attendance.
What? That's the best Sizzler fact we've ever had, and it's
great.
not ours.
That's great.
I love David Koresh references. We were just making Waco jokes yesterday.
Yeah, I know we were.
Do you know about David Koresh?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, it's interesting. He started this cult in Waco, Texas called the Branch Davidians in the 90s. And
The show Waco on Netflix.
Okay, yeah.
so the bad part is that there were allegations that there was like some sexual abuse from him towards the followers.
Yeah.
But there was also legitimate followers there. It was just a weird religious cult.
Yeah.
But then the federal government
Tried to
moved in
raid
with
Waco. Yeah. Okay,
and
yeah.
They
Yeah,
attacked
yeah.
them. They were burning them and killing them and stuff. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. But they also went to a Sizzler. This has been Sizzler Comments. And now it's time for Weekly News with Adam Yenser.
It's time for the weekly news with Adam Yenser.
On Monday, climate change activist Greta Thunberg finally discovered an emission-free way to travel. That's the German police carrying her away from a violent climate change protest. First, adults stole her dreams in her childhood. Now they're stealing her. How dare you! She is not going to be happy when she meets her cellmate. Not that I've ever seen Greta Thunberg happy. CNN is reportedly considering hiring a comedian like Trevor Noah or Bill Maher to host their primetime show, even though nothing they could possibly do will ever be funnier than what Jeffrey Toobin already did. Kim Kardashian visited Pelican Bay State Prison to talk to inmates about their experience in solitary confinement. They told Kim the worst part of solitary confinement is the loneliness, while the best part is we don't know who you are and never have to hear about you or your family. On Monday, a statue was unveiled in Boston called The Embrace, which was built to honor Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, and all of God's children, whether they be black or white, regardless of their creed or color of their skin, agree that it looks like a penis. Dr. King's relatives responded saying, "Darn it, was that sculptor a diversity hire?"
Brendan Fraser won the Critics' Choice Award for Best Actor for his role in The Whale. He also won the Panama City Beach Belly Flop contest. Joking aside, I haven't seen The Whale, but it does look like a phenomenal movie. I mean, take a look at that poster. A new study found that spending time in nature can improve mental and physical health and reduce the need for medication. So thank you to Gavin Newsom, who tried to cure COVID by closing hiking trails, parks, and the ocean. After the Jaguars defeated the Chargers in the third largest comeback in NFL history, quarterback Trevor Lawrence celebrated at Waffle House, where employees defeated the customers in the third largest comeback in restaurant history. Several U.S. cities have seen an increase in sober bars, which cater to non-drinkers with alcohol-free cocktails. Matt Gaetz calls it the perfect date spot for when she's not old enough to drink. I know a lot of you Republicans still like him, but I think he did it, and here's my evidence. Look at his face. PETA has demanded that the University of Georgia stop using a live bulldog as their football mascot, so they had him stuffed. That's it for Weekly News. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and come see me live at HB Social Club in Honolulu, January 28th, and at the Looney Bin in Wichita, February 9th to 11th.
Thanks, Adam Yenser. Now it is time for our interview with Sheriff Mark Lamb from Pinal County, Arizona, on Biden's recent visit to the border.
And now it's time for another interview on the Babylon Bee podcast.
All right, thanks for coming on, Sheriff Mark.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the Babylon Bee. I, along with so many other people, big fan. I don't know how you come up with satire anymore because everything seems to come true, but I'm very happy to be on today. Thank you.
Well, it's great that you were able to take some time to come over. I understand you guys have your hands full at the southern border. Even though Biden's doing a pretty good job, would you rate him 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10? Somewhere in that range.
If destroying America is the litmus test, then 10 out of 10. I think he's pretty much done just about everything that he could do.
You can speak freely and tell us how you really feel. You don't have to be political or anything.
Don't we need migrants to work on the farms? But who would work on the farms if we don't have this?
Sure, we need people to work jobs, period. Whether they're migrants or American kids or anybody, we need people to work jobs, period. We absolutely love immigrants. We just have a process in place for them. And that's all we're asking is to follow the process that it takes to come to America, and legit asylum claims too, by the way. You can't show up to 5 different countries before you claim asylum. The rule is you have to claim asylum in the first country you show up to. And I don't think most Americans understand that. So we're all for people coming here and working. I know companies need it, but we want you to follow the rules just like the rest of us. That's what this society is built on.
Now, where's your county? It's situated right on the southern border?
No, we're actually between Phoenix and Tucson. We're about 50 to 60 miles off the border. On the south end of our county, we have a Native American reservation that actually runs into into Mexico. Uh-huh. And that is where the cartel pushes military-age men, camouflage clothes, carpet shoes, which is exactly what it sounds like. They put pieces of carpet over their shoes so that we can't track them, we can't hear them. They've got backpacks, and a lot of times they're bringing in drugs, and they're bringing in people that we don't want in here. Look, over the last year, but the number is 40,000. 40,000 people have been arrested at the border that had either criminal convictions here in this country already, or that were wanted by law enforcement in this country. That is a staggering number of people that we were ready, that could have easily have gotten into our communities. We have to believe that an equal number probably did.
Don't they just need a second chance? They're just
look, everybody needs a second chance in life. There's no doubt everybody needs a second chance. And I think like Arizona and most Americans, we believe wholeheartedly in second chances, which is why we have a process in place. Who doesn't really need a second chance is the people we have in power right now. Over the last 2 years, you had one party running the Congress, Senate, and presidency. And so if immigration truly was a big issue for them, they could have fixed it over the last year. Lord knows they shoved tons of other stuff down our throats as Americans. They could have easily have passed legislation for immigration, but they didn't because ultimately they want a broken border.
Now, how many migrants have you whipped?
I haven't whipped any.
Oh.
I laugh because of how they accused those guys of it, and then it turned out to be that it wasn't true. And now they never even come back. They never came back and even said they were sorry. They claim that's a serious claim to say, hey, these guys were whipping these migrants, only to have it be not true. So I personally have not whipped any, nor have I even had my reins on my horse close to them.
So, what are the numbers at right now for the southern border? Wasn't it like 1 million people last year? And then what is it out right now for people crossing the border?
So I think the apprehensions is somewhere around 2.7 million. You've got who knows how many gotaways. Just in the month of December, there were 14,000 gotaways in the Tucson sector of Border Patrol, which is my sector. In the El Paso sector, that number was at 32,000. You could probably double or triple that of people that we don't know that didn't hit the cameras. Nobody saw them. Nobody chased them. And so they're not even on the gotaway list. But there are estimates that say it's probably closer to about 5 million when you take everything into consideration over the last 2 years since this administration's been in there. So, yeah, it's been a big influx of people into this country that we have no idea who they are. And might I say, one of the big issues that I think gets overlooked in the media all the time is the economic impact this has on America. We're in a recession right now. Now you're letting 5 million people that are going to make money under the table. They're going to send that money back to their respective countries, and they're not going to get taxed on it. So you're going to lose the taxing dollars for 3 to 5 million people. And then that money is going to be sent back to other countries, leaving a giant hole in our economy. So oftentimes I think that's something that's overlooked.
You talked about how many known criminals were arrested and how many others probably got away. The economic issues. What are the specific challenges that this kind of flood of migrants, especially illegal immigration, presents to your county and Arizona in general?
Yeah, great question. Every day we're out there on the I-10 freeway, stopping vehicles that are human load vehicles. Look, this isn't about immigration. This is about human trafficking and drug trafficking into America. And so the specific challenges we face because of this border crisis is we face people being trafficked into America to be in the sex trade. The cartels understand how many times can you sell a pill? One. But how many times can you sell a woman? Hundreds. Same with children. Those children are being put into the sex trade. Men are being extorted. So that's one issue. And the other issue is obviously the drug issue. Fentanyl has become the leading cause of death in America amongst Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. Over 107,000 deaths last year. Poisonings, I might add. These are poisonings are what they are. And it's going to continue to increase because of the amount of drugs we continue to seize. It's a fraction of what's coming in here. So that continues to probably be the major thing that issue that it poses for us in our county.
Now, have you talked to a lot of people that were maybe on the other side of the immigration issue and had their eyes opened from some of the stuff that you've seen? And what kind of arguments resonate with those people? Because I know a lot of times people on the left, they'll just say, oh, this is an issue of racism or xenophobia, like you just don't like people from another country and you're just, like a white nationalist or something. Have you encountered those kinds of arguments, and have you changed any hearts and minds on this issue?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times those are ridiculous arguments.
Right.
Look, anytime that they're on the losing end of an argument because they can't provide any facts to support the open border, idea or to support what this administration has done, they go to name calling. You're a racist, you're a bigot, you're this, you're that. And frankly, they're not down here trying to save these folks every day. We are. We spend our resources. We put our lives on the line to save people that the cartels have left for dead in the desert, people that are being trafficked that run from us at high rates of speed, putting our lives at risk when we deal with drugs that are trying to come into this country. So, yeah, those are some of the arguments people make. And I had a congresswoman I talked to one time, and she says, well, what about all the good people that are trying to come into this country? And I said, that's a great question, Congresswoman. But my job, if I told you I had 10 people I wanted you to come over to your house and 5 of them were good and 5 of them were bad, including sex offenders, would you allow them to come into your house? And she says, well, she was quiet. And I said, you're quiet because the answer is no. I said, let me take it a step further. If I had 10 people come into your house and only one of them was bad, but he was a sex offender, and you didn't know who it was, would you allow that in? Would you allow those 10 people in your house? She was quiet again. I said, no, you wouldn't, because you're not dumb. And anybody with a brain knows that we cannot let people in that are going to cause harm to us. My job as a sheriff is to stop that one bad guy, even if I have to stop 10 good people, because we already have a process in place, like I already talked about, for those good people to come to this country.
When I heard a lot of people in Los Angeles who thought the wall was racist, and then living here, I see that there are gated communities within gated communities. So Trump wanted to build a racist wall for $5 billion, but that was racist and that was a bad idea. And then our Congress gave $100 billion to Ukraine to fund a war, and there was no pushback. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know how an inanimate object can be racist. I think it's completely impossible. We've now seen that bridges that are too low can be racist. Highways can be racist. Rocks in the desert, I guess, could be racist if they sprain their ankle on the rock. I mean, it's sheer lunacy what we hear sometimes. And I try to bring some common sense back to it and some reality back to the situation. This is not racist to have a wall. I have a wall around my house. Is it the end all be all? No. Somebody could probably jump over it. But is it a deterrent from people just randomly walking into my yard? Absolutely. And that is what the wall is designed to do. It's designed to be a deterrent. It's designed to create choke points, places where we can put our staffing, our minimum staffing, whether it's Border Patrol, local law enforcement, to be able to stop that and thwart the bad people from coming in this country.
I think your hat is a pretty good deterrent too. Like if I just
like
saw you
so
standing in that hat, I wouldn't go into your yard.
I assume you'd own guns by that hat. So
that would be my assumption as well.
Well, your assumption would be correct, and the plurality of the word that you use would be correct as well. My challenge coin that I have says that I believe in God, family, freedom, and guns. So yes, I have guns.
Would you say you have a plethora of guns?
I don't know that I could say I have a plethora of guns. Okay. I don't have as many guns as I would like to have, but I love the Three Amigos reference.
Thank you. Yeah. Have you seen the Three Amigos, Emma?
I have. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Governor Ron DeSantis and Governor Abbott took some criticism when they were busing migrants and flying migrants to D.C. and other places. I know Biden was doing similar things where he was flying people in the middle of the night. What's your thoughts on that whole thing? Is that just political theater? Does it make any kind of impact? Is Ron DeSantis a human trafficker? Your thoughts?
Well, there's a lot to unpack in that question. No, he's not a human trafficker. Yes, Biden and his administration probably buses and flies out 10 times what Arizona and Texas does. They're doing the exact same thing, sending them to communities and states all over this country. So they're doing it already. Is it political? Sure. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not. But what other way does Arizona or Texas have to get the attention of the federal government or the American people? Other than to send these people to places that have claimed to be sanctuary cities. I mean, I would think that you would want us on the border to send people to sanctuary cities because clearly you have resources and everything in place to accept them because you've determined your city is that. And I think that's what they've done. You can call it political or not, but I think that it is also political what the government is doing and their lack of doing it. And forcing the communities in Arizona and Texas, which are not equipped for that, to house all these people, I think that is political in nature as well.
I know you want to mention your Brave book, and I want you to be able to do that. I did want to ask before we get to that, just kind of in closing, what do you think are some common sense immigration reforms and deterrents that the U.S. can implement to help solve this problem? Because it seems insurmountable.
Well, it's not insurmountable. First of all, we're America. I mean, we can do a lot of things, and we have done a lot of things. Second of all, this is still the greatest country in the world. Don't let your politicians or your media tell you otherwise. That's why 300,000 people show up to our borders every month. Do we have our problems? Do we need to fix them? Yes. And it starts right at the southern border. And the best and easiest thing to do would be to go back to the Trump era policies. We know those policies were working. I can tell you firsthand. the statistics and what we dealt with under the last administration to this administration are starkly different, 180 different. And so I would go back to those policies, but unfortunately, they've allowed it to get out of hand. And so sometimes you're going to have to come in a little bit harder in the sense that we may have to do some border shutdowns, but we've really got to get control of it. What we do right now is we're mopping up the bathroom floor without turning off the tub water. And at some point, you've got to make a determination to turn the tub water off so that we can start going to mopping it up. The drug issues in America are not going to be solved as long as you allow drugs to come in unfettered for the most part through the southern border. So I would say the simplest, quickest, easiest thing is to go back to the Trump era policies. Let's start from there and start working with us, local law enforcement, so we can help you achieve that.
Got it. Tell us about the children's book that you wrote with Brave Books.
Yeah, I think we're all seeing a lot of corruption going on in this world, and we're trying to teach our children at a younger age to be critical thinkers. And this book, The Adventures of Seymour Clues and Mr. Mouse, The Case of the Mysterious Sea Monster, is exactly that. It's a story of some local corruption where they're fear-mongering people, and it takes some critical thinking on the part of Seymour Clues and Mr. Mouse to get to the bottom, to get to the truth. And this book is designed to teach children to be critical thinkers, to find the truth, because it is out there, but it's harder to find every day that we go along in this crazy world. And so it's just a great book for parents who are struggling to find good books that aren't pervasive and teaching our children the wrong things. Get back to teaching children good traditional values that this country was built on. Some of the books are about Christian values. And it's a great company that we've partnered up with, bravebooks.com. Go check it out. If you subscribe today, you're going to get my book. You're going to get Kirk Cameron's book for free. And then you're going to be getting all the Freedom Island books that are great for your children. It's going to teach them great things. And this was particularly hits close to home to me, because I had two grandchildren. Tragically, I lost one a month ago in a car accident. I wrote this book for them, and it means even more to me now because I lost a granddaughter. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it with your grandchildren because it's a great book and teaches them good things.
I'll enjoy it with my grandchildren one day.
Someday.
I was going to say, I don't have my glasses on, but you look way too young.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. That was awesome. Everybody, please check out the Brave Book. We're going to have a link to it in the show notes there. And thank you so much. That's awesome.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time, and thank you for being great Americans, too. God bless you both.
God bless you.
God bless.
All right, well, that was great. Thanks for coming on, Sheriff. And now it is time for our intermission, the Babylon Bees Bible verse of the week.
And now it's time for the Babylon Bees Bible verse of the week. Amen.
Before we introduce our next segment, we'd like to take time to be holy and consider the deep font of knowledge from the Holy Scripture. Let us now consider our Bible verse of the week, Judges 3:22 in the King James Version. And the haft also went in after the blade, and the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly. And the dirt came out.
That passage and that story do always stick out in my mind when I read the Bible, because it's such a violent scene.
Yeah, this guy sneaks into this chamber where a very fat king, and he stabs him, and the fat closes over the blade, and he stabs him, lets go, escapes, and then nobody knows that the king died, and he's just sitting there fat and dead,
bleeding
because
out
the
through
blade
his
is
fat,
hiding
the dirt coming out,
and I think he instructed nobody to come in or something.
Yes.
Right? So he's in there for days until it starts to smell, and then they're like, I think the king is dead, and then
Interesting.
So let's apply this to our lives.
Yes, as one of my old pastors always say, where can we find Jesus in this verse?
Yeah, we're like, what is the King Ehud of your life?
Yes.
What's y'all's takeaways? What are y'all thinking?
I think we need to find the fat king in our hearts and stab it.
And we need to get the dirt out of us, the sin. The sin
dirt
is the
that comes out.
The proverbial dirt.
And I think the dirt is like bile.
Yeah.
And in the King James, it's rendered dirt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a Bible verse of the week. And now it's time for our new CONSOOM segment, where we talk about things that we're consuming in our lives.
Hey listeners, if you're like me and enjoy diving into the week's top stories in US politics mixed with humor and hot takes, you need to subscribe to the new Decaf podcast right now. No topic goes untouched as hosts Mark and Taylor dive into sports, pop culture, and controversial topics, such as the most underrated and overrated television shows. Yeah, that controversial. You won't want to miss it. Give it a listen. It's quick, it's fun, and it's a great way to start your day. Subscribe to Decaf on Apple and Spotify today.
It's time to consume!
I've been reading Applied Economics by Thomas Sowell, and I talked about this on the last podcast. My first read of a Thomas Sowell book.
I've never read his stuff. I've read like essays and watched clips of his quotes, but I've never read one of his books.
I like it a lot. I really like economic books, and this is reminding me how much I like. This year I'm trying to rotate fiction and nonfiction. Mm-hmm. So this is my start of the year, like reading nonfiction, and it's been really good. I like thinking about those things, and it's a good way to go on a run and you listen to that kind of stuff. I wish, I don't know, like economics is so theoretical and example driven, that it's just a lot of examples of like, for instance, in this city, this happens. And for instance, in this time, this happened. And I really like how Sowell is unafraid and unapologetic to ask any question. He's like, why does the U.S. value more immigrants from Europe than from Mexico? And he talks about like, well, this is a skilled labor force and they're, it's worthwhile to have them here. And then the Mexico labor force is more of a drain on the economy. And he explains like the different things. He's like, this isn't a racism thing. I'm just explaining the economic realities. So I it's like interesting. It's like stuff I wouldn't be allowed to say.
Is his writing very readable, or is it a little dense and tough
very
to
readable?
Get through? Really, that's what I like. I like reading books about like complex topics like that, but I feel like some authors are much better than others at making them digestible to someone who's not an expert.
Very, very readable, highly readable. At least the one I like.
Yeah.
Brandon recommended this one to me as like a readable. Like it's not like a super dense topic or anything. It's
Some of his other ones are too as well. Like I've read Basic Economics by him, which is pretty readable.
That's a lot thicker though. That's like that's a big old tome, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
this might be basically a distilled version of Basic Economics.
Probably takes the like hearing you describe, probably takes the examples that are in Basic Economics and just uses that to talk about the principles and stuff, which is really cool.
Oh, it's super interesting. I also restarted Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is one of my favorite video games, and I realized I didn't have any like just straight up recreation time for the day. Like I was like, I'm working out, I'm working on the website, I'm working on the videos, and it's like you get to the end of the day and I was just wandering around the house like I have nothing to do right now, and I'm like, I'm going to restart Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Breath of the Wild 2 comes out in May, so I'm very pumped for that. And I'm trying to take it easy because I like to play video games and I like to rush them and try to finish them. And this time I'm like, no, I'm going to like just explore the world.
What's your console?
This is on the Nintendo Switch.
Nice.
So what about you? Any video games?
PlayStation guy, keep it simple, GTA, Call of Duty. I guess that's what made me a raging right-winger.
Are you playing the most recent Call of Duty, like Warzone? The Warzone 2.0.
I'm like an oldie, like Modern Warfare 3, like old stuff. Like
I love Modern Warfare 3. That's probably one of my favorite Call of Duties, right behind the OG. So
yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time.
Nice.
Anytime I'm just like late at night, can't sleep. And I'm not on TikTok, of course. Then
that's the thing. That's the other thing. Like I found that I was spending so much time at the end of the day, like TikTok or Twitter or like just browsing stuff, and it's so. Like the way TikTok rewires your brain to go 3 seconds of new funny video.
Yeah.
3 seconds of new funny video. It's like commit to reading a novel or commit to like even finishing a video game, which I know people say that melts your brain too, but it's like I'm committing 50 hours to complete this whole storyline. It's like a whole different way of thinking that I think is better for your brain maybe.
Do you think that made it harder for you when you started getting back more into reading? Like to adjust your brain from like, watching 3 second clips. Like, this is boring.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it's like you want the instant dopamine high of like I need something to keep me going,
And I feel like I want to shift my focus to something else very quickly. It's even when I'm reading like news articles online, it's like I'll read 3 paragraphs and then I think, I get it. I get it. The next. Yeah.
I'm also rewatching New Girl, the sitcom. Did you ever watch that?
I've heard it's very good. I've only seen 2 episodes and I like it, but I've never watched much of that series.
This is like me and my wife always have our ongoing like dumb show that we'll just sit down and watch a couple episodes of. This is our current dumb show. I don't know that it's great. It's okay, but it also reminds me how much I hated this old sitcom format where it's just a bunch of like loser 30-somethings in an apartment together that are just trying to get laid all the time. Like I'm like, how many, like every plot line in every episode is just them trying to get laid, and that's like the highest thing they can achieve in life.
Do you not like Friends? That's a hot take.
I never liked Friends, but I've only ever watched the pilot, and I didn't like the pilot.
Yeah.
And I thought Lisa Kudrow's character was funny, and I didn't care about anything else that happened in it.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about Friends. I think it's overrated. I don't think it's great. I do think it revolutionized the way we think about sitcoms, so it had massive cultural influence.
Yes.
And there's some funny lines. They did a good job of like playing up each of the characters' stereotypes.
Yeah.
But again, if you go back and watch it, it's so vapid. Like nobody's likable. They all just want to get laid. You know. I'm like, is that the highest thing that we're calling people to?
Yeah. In your 30s,
you know, in their 30s, they're all like losers trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, and you're like, what, what is going on? You know. So. Also, on the nerdy spectrum, I had a massive board game day for my birthday on Saturday, which was a blast.
How many hours did you play?
12 hours. This was my longest.
12 hours of board
It was
game?
my longest single stint of playing board games ever. We got 8 games in, and the highlight was Blood Rage. And if you like Vikings and combat, highly recommend.
Who doesn't
picking up
like
Blood
Vikings and combat?
I mean, it was awesome. We had a blast. We had people coming in and out, and great time. Blood Rage.
When did you start?
We started at 11:45 a.m. We finished at 11:45 p.m.
Wow.
So it was just
nice.
Just sat there all day. It was wonderful. Great. What are you guys consuming? Don't let me monopolize the segment.
Well, my reading goals this year, I mentioned on our New Year's show. I majored in philosophy when I was in college,
Read the
and I'm
philosophers.
starting kind of at the beginning, and I want to kind of read through all the major works. So some of them I read years ago, or I know the ideas, but I haven't read them. So I'm starting with Plato's Republic, and I've been reading through that. And then I've also listened to, next after Plato's Republic, I'm going to read his Laws, but there's all these short dialogues he has, and I've been listening to those on audiobook. So I've gotten through almost all the works of Plato up to the Laws so far. And it's just fascinating because it sets such a groundwork for almost everything you could ever study in philosophy. A debate about it exists in its like nascent form somewhere in Plato's dialogues. And it's also very interesting because it's this pre-Christian philosophy, and obviously they were pagan and they were polytheistic, but there's a lot in those dialogues that starts pointing you towards monotheism. And there's a lot of really interesting, like in the Phaedo where Socrates is about to die, about to drink the hemlock, but up until his death, he's debating with his followers whether you can prove the immortality of the soul just purely through reason. They're trying to get at the heart of justice in one of the books. And they talk about in order to prove that justice is good in itself and doesn't serve you better than injustice, you would have to create this hypothetical man who is completely just, but also has a reputation for injustice, so that society doesn't like him, but he still acts just. And they literally say, well, our just man, because he had this bad reputation, would be ultimately good, but would be arrested and imprisoned and crucified. They literally say that in this dialogue from
amazing.
like years before Christ. It's really interesting stuff.
Socrates doesn't have anything written, right?
So Socrates never wrote anything himself. Plato was one of his students, and then he has a few other students that also wrote stuff down, but Plato was the big transcriber of it. But what's interesting is I've been reading, other essays and stuff and watching YouTube videos about Plato also. So his early works, they think, was very representative of what Socrates actually believed, because all of his dialogues are between Socrates and other characters. Then his later dialogues, they think he put Socrates in them as a character, but that's more Plato's views. So that they agreed on a lot of things, but there are some things where it more transitions to Plato's theories about like the realm of the forms and these perfect ideas that exist. And that has its roots in Socrates. But yeah, in the early dialogues, it's most likely Socrates' actual point of view. And then in some of the later dialogues, it's Plato projecting his ideas into that character. So yeah, that's been very fascinating. And then other like pop culture stuff. I watched The Harder They Fall this week. Have you seen that?
No.
It's really cool. It's a Western. It's on Netflix. But Dion Cole is in it. He's a
great.
comedian that I worked with at Conan. He's a hilarious comedian. But this is a drama. It's a Western. It's super violent in sort of a Quentin Tarantino style. It's very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Violence and philosophy.
Yeah. So for me, it's the new year, so I've been probably diving into a lot of like self-help books, like 48 Laws of Power is always a good one that
Dude, that one's fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like I read it like every year. And then also too, Peter Thiel has a really cool book that he wrote actually with Blake Masters, which I've been diving a little bit into. And then on the TV show front, I think like all the new Transformers have been like on Netflix now. So I've been rewatching all of those, been watching that, and then
The movies, like
the movies,
Shia
full
LaBeouf
movies,
and-
Shia LaBeouf,
yeah.
and then watch the new like Wednesday Addams reboot that they did, which is actually pretty good.
I've heard that's really good. I
Both
haven't
my
watched it.
sons, well, 2 of my 3 sons loved that, and my wife watched it and loved it, and I haven't checked it out.
Yeah,
I've
it's
heard
pretty
only
good.
good things
I liked
about it. Yeah.
And I didn't even know like that it was a remake. I didn't watch like the previous iteration of it.
You didn't know the Addams Family existed? Like,
I've heard of it, but I've never watched
all right.
like the show or the movie.
So you just watched Wednesday, not knowing it was a spin-off of Addams Family or anything.
So
Okay.
yeah, it was pretty good. But you know, part of me is like maybe if I watch the original, then it'll give like Velma vibes. But it wasn't really like there are
I
a
haven't
few
heard
like
any
woke
of that
lines.
feedback
Yeah,
about
there are a few
Wednesday.
woke lines like thrown in. Like I
It
remember,
wasn't too bad on the woke front.
yeah,
So
but it wasn't anything crazy.
yeah.
Typical TV.
All right.
Have you read Mastery, the one that's like the sequel to 48 Laws of Power?
I haven't.
I have that one, but I haven't read it yet. But 48 Laws of Power, anytime anyone is like planning to move to LA or get into entertainment, whether it's music or comedy or writing, I always recommend that book. I always say that's the book to read, yeah.
Wow.
Okay. I always recommend that they play Blood Rage. All right, now it's time for another new segment called Mailbag.
Hey, Mr. Postman, what's in the mailbag?
We've answered mail from time to time, and we do a lot of hate mail and love mail. But I thought it'd be nice to get some topics from our readers to discuss, and we got some interesting mail this week. So this is from Ava, and she says that she's a huge fan of the podcast and the site, and she's currently a college student at a small liberal arts Christian school in Texas, studying design and advertising. She wanted to ask to what extent we think college is a scam, why, and if we think a Christian college is as much of a scam as state schools. Plus, how do you contend with the fact that many jobs require a degree, even if it's just to prove you have the dedication to get a degree? Just curious to hear your thoughts and my tips that you might have for a frustrated college student. I don't know if we've ever said that college is necessarily a scam, so I wanted to kind of correct that misperception. I don't think we ever said college is straight up bad. Like, you went to college, I went to 2 years.
Yeah, my take on it has always been, I know a lot, I have friends that think college is a scam. I think there are some legitimate complaints about the fact that having a degree does not necessarily guarantee you a job, in the same way that getting a job doesn't necessarily mean you need a degree if you've been able to learn those things through an apprenticeship or through a trade school or just through independent learning. I think you are fully capable of studying on your own or working on your own and gaining the same skills as someone who went to college. That said, I think there are a lot of advantages to going to college. I do think you should just go into it with realistic expectations about, I chose, for instance, to... Like I said, I majored in philosophy. I also majored in film and video because I wanted to get into comedy writing. In my film and video classes, I, for instance, learned script writing format, which is something I still use, and I kind of got the basics of it. But looking back, I don't think that's something that would have been impossible for me to get on my own. And the stuff that I really learned was once I got internships and started actually working in the industry. I think I learned so much more there than I did in my classes. And with philosophy, it was something that I just took because it interested me. So I think college is great if you have a clear idea of what you want to do with your degree and you're studying stuff that genuinely interests you. And then the other question you asked, I'm sort of against jobs, maybe except in highly technical fields like medicine or engineering. I'm kind of against the idea for certain jobs that you need a degree in order to work there because I think there's people who are fully qualified. But I don't think college is a scam. I do think they overcharge in many ways.
As someone who just recently left college, like I left college to come work for Prager, is that I think one of my biggest issues with the entire college industrial complex is the fact that you see college education becoming more and more expensive each year, but the actual value of that degree has not yet even increased, which I think is, pretty ridiculous when you have this entire societal construct that you need to go to college to be successful. When I think in this day and age, when education and knowledge is so democratized, like you can go on YouTube, you can go on any app and just learn, that it kind of changes that narrative in a really big way. But I also think too is that, especially as it relates to her, you're majoring in design and advertising, go make a portfolio. I think a lot of employers want to see more of what you can actually do than what you were just being able, like were told to do in a college classroom. And that's just kind of my experience. I remember I was a poli-sci major at Alabama, went there for 3 years. I loved Alabama, had the time of my life. And I think that what I often tell people when I talk about it is that, like, I'm glad that I went to college because of the social aspect of it. I think it made me better in that regard. But I think after a certain point, you have to want to actually do real work. And I think there are a lot of people that I know who are going to probably struggle with that once graduation comes. It's like, oh, I'm not, going to a keg party this Saturday, or something like that. But I think that the biggest thing is that, like, my issue with college today is it's become less about education and more about indoctrination. Why are we paying tens of thousands of dollars to be told that why you should hate America, why you're a racist, or why, if you're in the case of me, why you should feel victimized because of the abundance of racism that exists in America? I think that's a lie. And I think that people are going to college to prepare them for careers. There is nothing about critical race theory. There's nothing about gender theory. There's nothing about women's studies that is going to make you a more attractive applicant in the corporate world or the design world as she's in. Christian college is a little bit different, but I think that unfortunately, even at some Christian schools in the country here, we've seen like DEI and CRT even seep into those classrooms.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm thinking about, like, I get people that apply, wanting to do graphic design for us and stuff. And kind of what you said is right. It's like I'm looking at that, and I'm not really looking at, oh, you got this degree. Like, I guess that does give you a sense, like, okay, well, they have some kind of background. Mm-hmm. But I look at the portfolio and I'm like, oh man, these designs are great. Yeah. Or I look at them and I go, these are terrible. And then the degree thing just kind of falls by the wayside. I mean, maybe two applicants with the exact same quality of design, and one has the degree and one doesn't. I mean, maybe it does give a little bit of an edge. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. And then with the Christian colleges, it's like, pick one that is actually a Christian college, that's
and I think that's hard because I think with Christian colleges, it's almost like you have to judge them on a case by case.
Yeah, it depends.
I think just like secular colleges, I think there's good ones and bad ones, and there's probably some that are run more for profit and some that aren't. But I don't know that you have as much of a problem with the woke agenda, but like you said, it does work its way into some of the Christian colleges even.
I went to the Master's College, now the Master's University, and it was like actually a Christian college. Like they enforced, they taught actual Christian stuff. If like sometimes there was professors who would like deviate from doctrine and they would fire them. Like, you're not teaching something according to our statement of faith. And I found it was a great experience. I had like fellow believers in the dorms alongside you, but I also knew people that went to Christian colleges that were more wishy-washy. And it was almost worse than if they went to a state school because their parents thought they were sending them to this safe place that was going to have other Christians. And like, there's one school that I know a lot of my friends went to, and like 2/3 of them aren't Christians anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not saying that's the fault of that school, but it's definitely like that environment didn't help them. So,
like look at Georgetown. It's a Christian school. It's a Jesuit university, but there are tons of like wokeisms like pushed every single day on that campus, and it's just like, I think you just got to look into it on a case by case basis for sure.
And I would recommend to people who are going to secular universities, like I went to Penn State. Something I did, and I recommend to people that even those universities have Christian organizations on campus. You can find like-minded people there, even in that sort of culture, and it's always good to reach out and connect with those people.
Definitely.
All right, here's a mailbag from Kevin Bell. He says, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what is the best Christian cartoons, especially of the 80s and 90s. He lists things like VeggieTales, Greatest Adventure Stories from the Bible, Superbook, Adventures in Odyssey, and Davy and Goliath. What's your ranking of greatest Christian cartoons? P.S. Maybe you should consider discussing Christian video games from the cartridge era. I still remember playing Bible Adventures on the NES and finding it almost impossible to get Noah to pick up the pig to place on the ark. Have you guys seen that game, Bible Adventures?
I have. It's famously bad.
Famously bad, yeah. There's like some famous videos on it. But you would have to run. It was like side scroll, 2D pixels. Noah would like pick up the animals. He'd have to chase them around, run over towards the ark, and then huck the animals onto the ark, which was wonderful. So
come a long way.
Well, you've listed all the big ones in Christian cartoons. VeggieTales, I think, is the big one. I don't know that there was that many. Like, I think all of them were just kind of really niche. Like,
I remember
Mission
VeggieTale. That's
Underground.
the only one that I recognize actually from that list. There.
I'd have to Google some of them. Maybe we'll do a segment soon where we run down some Christian cartoons, but I can't remember too many others.
I didn't really watch any of these,
Yeah,
but
no,
I would say
it's
my
cultural.
favorite Christian cartoon was probably Dino Riders because it showed that people and dinosaurs coexisted.
Amen. Amen.
Did you see Dino Riders?
I
Do you know what
remember
is?
that. Yeah,
It was a cartoon that they made 3 episodes just to sell toys.
Yeah.
And it was one of the
It
coolest
wasn't-
shows
yeah,
ever.
right. That's amazing.
But it wasn't Christian. I'm just
Yeah. I didn't think that was a Christian
yeah.
show, but now that you mention it, it
They,
kind of
they showed
you to
dinosaurs.
love your
It was a
neighbor.
young Earth. It was a young Earth dinosaur people war show.
Ride the dinosaur in your life.
Yeah.
That's the lesson. So
Here's another one. This says, Dear B, I've recently been mulling over films and what makes them good. What do you think makes a film good? More specifically, what makes the specific parts of a film, e.g. the directors or actor, good? I'd love to hear your thoughts or any examples you think of. Ciao, Lil Ridgy Maine.
and then he says, P.S. Why
P.S.
is Star Wars so bad? The Last Jedi so bad?
Why is The Last Jedi so bad? My dad disliked it. Or no, my dad liked it, and I have a hard time explaining why most people think it was terrible. It is hard, I think, to explain to someone why a movie is bad if they don't
true.
don't get it.
It's so subjective. Too.
Yeah.
It's subjective.
I mean, for me, I always like the story the best. So I cannot think a movie is good if the story isn't good. Even if it's shot well, even if the acting is good, I just don't like it if it's not a good story. And conversely, if the acting is bad or if the cinematography is bad, I still might like it if the story is
Yeah,
good.
'cause there's
But
something
I think
under
I
there,
can
right?
appreciate each of those separate parts individually.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of people can separate, like they'll go watch Avatar or Avatar 2, you know, and they're like, well, the story was garbage, but man, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I have trouble doing that because I'll go and I'm like, it just annoys me so much of how bad the story is in Avatar, you know.
Yeah. One movie I always think of a good example of the story was great, but it was hard to like because the acting was so bad is Valerian, the City of a Thousand Planets. Did you see that one? It's like a sci-fi movie, but the cast
yeah,
was
yeah.
Dane DeHaan and one of these, I don't know, one of those like model actress people. And their performance was so bad, but the story was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be difficult. Acting can make it difficult.
Yeah,
I mean,
but as far as examples of what movies I think are good, one of my favorites of all time, I always love Doctor Strangelove. I like the story. I think it's shot well. I'm a big Stanley Kubrick fan. I think it is cool when a director can bring. You ask like what
together,
makes
yeah.
like a director good. I think is when you can bring together all those pieces: the acting, the lighting, the editing, the cinematography. Even though you're not in charge of each of those things, you're managing all the people that are. So
yeah. Yeah, I think I tend to think movies are good, or like really high quality when I think about them for a while afterwards. That's always the thing to be like either like a comedy movie, it's like one I'm quoting a year later.
Yeah.
A drama movie, it's one that I think about for a week and I just keep going back to thinking about some element of the story. So
I feel like for me, it would probably be the actors. Like I feel like when I like am going through Netflix just trying to figure out what to watch, like this is like goes back to our TikTok conversation. I'm just like, if I am not like enthused within 5 minutes of the movie, then I'm done watching this. So it's like any movie with like Denzel Washington or like Jamie Foxx or Sandra Bullock, I feel like those are always like the safe bets. Quentin Tarantino obviously has some really good ones, but yeah, like that kind of thing. I feel like actors definitely bring a lot of life to a script for sure.
all right.
cool.
Well, here's some mailbag from Renee, who says, just watched The Last Valley, 1971, with Michael Caine and Omar Sharif. The actor playing the Catholic priest looked so much like Kyle Mann, it was distracting. And here's a picture of someone who's supposed to look
I don't know that I see it that
just
much.
like me.
Maybe if you made that face and wore that wig, you would.
Do you want to recreate the face?
I'm trying to like...
We should have you just be that character in a random sketch.
Yeah.
Get that
Just
outfit
random.
and that hair, yeah.
Well, this has been Mailbag. If you want to be featured in Mailbag, please send us your questions and comments at podcast@babylonb.com or look out for the Mailbag thread in the premium section of the website. Well, now it's time for hate mail. treasure in heaven is great, but it's not going to buy you a tank of gas. So let's take a moment to briefly review the current state of our economy and the global effect the war between Russia and Ukraine has had. We're in for a tough year here, and Biden's printing and spending could be catastrophic for the US dollar and the market. That's why a growing number of financial analysts are recommending you diversify with gold and silver now. And the only company we recommend is Allegiance Gold. Our friends at Allegiance Gold can help you protect your IRA or 401k with physical gold and silver and have it delivered securely right to your door. The team at Allegiance Gold takes the time to educate their clients on the importance of having a financial portfolio that's diversified with gold and silver. Allegiance Gold has been one of the top precious metals firms in the nation for their commitment to protecting your hard-earned savings. They have an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, a 5-star rating with TrustLink, and they're AAA rated with the Business Consumer Alliance. If you act now by calling them and you mention Babylon Bee, they'll even give you $500 of free silver on a qualified purchase. Call 844-790-9191 to get this exclusive offer. Or you can visit allegiancegold.com/B. That's B-E-E. Call 844-790-9191. That's 844-790-9191. Or visit allegiancegold.com/BEE.
I really miss Adam Ford.
We got some hateful comments on this article. Jesus heals the lame man by giving him dope shades and cool leather jacket.
I love that headline.
There's the leather jacket and the shades. Let me see. Mocking our Lord is not funny. This is from Mary Clump. Mocking our Lord is not funny. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, so he shall reap. Matt Fry says, using God's name in vain isn't funny. I love your guys' posts, but sometimes they can be quite blasphemous. Agree, I don't see the humor in it. I know God has a sense of humor, but to mock the healing of the sick, it's not a joking matter. Not a joking matter. That's not a joking matter.
He wasn't healing the sick. He made the guy sick with those shades.
He made him totally sick.
Totally sick.
Dope.
So rad. He gave him Riz. Do y'all know what Riz means?
No, is that a new Gen Z word?
Yes, it's a new
what
Gen
is
Z
Riz?
word.
I want to use it now.
So Riz is like when you have like pool game, when you have gas, like not like literal gas.
I don't know any of the words you just said.
So it's like when you just like if you can walk into a bar and like get a girl.
Oh, just go up and like
it's a game.
pull
game.
get a girl.
Riz is like game.
Yeah.
Game.
Okay.
Yeah. So the shades gives him Riz. Like girls are gonna be like, whoa, like look
Riz
at those
is
dope
good
shades.
game.
Now
Nice.
he has Riz.
The bus and drip gave him Riz.
Nice.
Yes. To have Riz, you have drip.
I'm gonna use
and that
Riz
drip
now.
is bussin'. Yep. Look at us, linguistic experts here.
That's great. Okay.
I'll try to use Riz before my 40th birthday next week.
The time is almost up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Please check out CJ's content because he is a content creator. Instagram, Twitter, etc. You can go find all those links and keep an eye out for the stuff that he's doing with PragerU, his university.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks so much for having me. Always
And make sure you stick around for the subscriber lounge.
We got more coming at you shortly.
Coming up next, for Babylon Bee subscribers.
Comedy. We did the 10 questions with ChatGPT and it was awesome. So now we asked ChatGPT to write hate mail for us.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings itself is probably like 1,200 pages if you read
It's like
it all.
Harry Potter vibes.
Yeah. It's good though. But yeah, that kind of thing. Hey.
Oh my gosh. Look at this.
Birthday to
That's
you.
amazing.
This has been another edition of the Babylon Bee podcast. From the dedicated team of certified fake news journalists you can trust here at the Babylon Bee, reminding you that fake news of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.